The world's a pretty big place. With our busy lives, no reasonable person can be expected to keep up with the biggest headlines each week, so I'm here to do it for you. This is Tony Pearson coming to you on behalf of WHIP with this week's Big Picture. It is not yet November 8th, which means that we cannot get through a week of news without talking about the election. So let's get that part out of the way first. The first set of debates are over, and let's get started with some personal observations of my own. I just want to say, first of all, that I'm not a fan of either candidate. I really believe they represent the worst of what both party has to offer right now. That being said, there are some clear, I shouldn't say there are some, there is a clear winner to the first presidential debate. And that clear winner was Hillary Clinton. Now, having watched it myself, this was apparent just in the way that they kind of carried themselves. Hillary Clinton kind of maintained her composure throughout the debate. She didn't give in to yelling and interrupting and stuff like that. Whereas about 15 minutes in, I believe, Donald Trump did start yelling, interrupting, stuff like that. It was just very unprofessional. And for someone like me, who's not a fan of both, it was definitely enough to sway me in her favor. At the end of the day, you know, I'm looking for somebody who looks like they can be a president. And, well, when one of the people on stage is screaming at the other, it doesn't make me feel like that person would make a good president. Anyway, now that my opinions are out of the way, let's get into the statistics and the facts of the debate. Clinton interrupted Trump 9 times during the debate. Trump interrupted Clinton 39 times. They discussed issues of all sorts of policies. I honestly don't have time to get into it all in a show like this. They discussed a lot. I recommend, if you haven't seen the debate, watching it on YouTube or really any other site on the internet. I know it's available in a lot of places. It's some good stuff, though it might give you a headache with all the yelling going on. The aftermath of the debate looks like this, and this is where we get into who it appears actually won. Clinton now leads Trump by about 4 points in national polls. This is up by about 2 points compared to her 1 to 2-ish lead before the debates. Projects that weigh in the effects of the Electoral College, such as the 538's polls-only forecast, show a bigger effect, with Clinton leading Trump 67.3% to 32.7%, and those are odds of winning when taking into account the Electoral College and all that. This is up from where it was before the debates, where Clinton was at 54.1% and Trump was at 45.9%. Newspaper endorsements are also coming in. As of now, Trump has not been endorsed by a single mainstream daily newspaper. In fact, this statistic includes historically conservative newspapers, such as the Cincinnati Enquirer and the Arizona Republic Editorial. This is actually breaking a 126-year Republican endorsement streak for them. Even USA Today, which has historically remained neutral, or at least they've remained, quote unquote, officially neutral. They haven't officially endorsed or unendorsed any candidates. Up until now, this year, they published an official unendorsing of Donald Trump. While they haven't taken the side of any specific candidate, they have said that they do not endorse Donald Trump and that they feel he is unfit for the presidency. Long story short, in the eyes of many, Trump made a fool of himself at this first debate. This was his chance for a lot of people to kind of come in as someone more level-headed and forward-thinking than he has in the past. I know that's what I was looking for, as someone who, up until recently, was still kind of in the middle with a lot of these things. I was hoping that Trump was going to come in with a level head, offer, good points. I was hoping it was going to be an intelligent debate. Instead, it was a lot of yelling, and it just kind of reaffirmed what everybody's been telling me, which is that the man's not fit to be president. When he acts like he did at the debate, it's just going to push people farther away. I know it did with me. Moving on to other national news, the feds are going after Mylan. Now, for those of you who don't know, Mylan is the company that currently owns the rights to the EpiPen patent. And for those of you who do not know what EpiPens are, they are super, super, super important tools for people who have life-threatening allergies. EpiPens are auto-injectors, which are designed to inject a life-saving dose of a chemical called epinephrine whenever someone is going into a life-threatening allergic reaction. People who have, for example, very severe peanut allergies, such as my girlfriend actually, need these things if they're going into something called anaphylactic shock, which is where the allergic reaction causes their throats to close and a bunch of other awful things. If people are going into one of these reactions and they do not have an EpiPen, they are likely to die if they don't get like immediate medical attention. So, with that importance in mind, here's what Mylan has done. When they bought the patent to EpiPens back in 2007, they were originally $50 a pen. Since then, they've increased the price, I believe, more than 15 times. Right now, the price actually sits at $608 for a 2-pack, so that's up about 500%. Now, here's the kicker, and here's what has them in trouble with the federal government. It turns out that all this time, Mylan has been reporting EpiPen as a generic drug. It's not. That's why this is such a huge problem. People can't get it anywhere else. So when you buy them through Medicaid, Mylan is required to give the federal government a rebate for whatever it pays for you to get your EpiPens. If the medicine is something generic, this rebate is required to be 13%. If it's not generic, this rebate is supposed to be 23.1%, plus penalties for raising the price outside of inflation. In case it's not obvious, Mylan should be paying the second one, but instead, they've been paying the 13% rebate. Because EpiPens are so crucial, and I mean, they are super crucial. Anybody with life-threatening allergic reactions has to have an EpiPen on them at all times, and they expire after about a year. All of these people, they use a lot of EpiPens, which means a lot of money gets spent on them. Now, this scandal is just breaking right now, so the full numbers aren't yet available, but in just the cost of Minnesota, this has cost the state $4.3 million just this year. The amount of money that has cost the whole country and consumers in the years since 2007 is probably much more. If y'all wonder why the American public doesn't trust big corporations, and especially big pharmaceutical corporations right now, this is why. I personally hope that the feds throw everything they've got at Mylan. They've got it coming. Moving on to international news. French jets took off on Friday from an aircraft carrier near Iraq as the region prepares for battle. An Iraqi government-led offensive to win back the city of Mosul from the Islamic State is about to begin. While the main battle has not yet started, a few smaller skirmishes have. This offensive consists of a large number of Western powers. These include France and other coalitions led by the US and other countries. Additionally, this includes a bunch of local militias. Because the battle hasn't actually started yet, I don't have that many updates onto what's actually going on, but I can say this is super important. Mosul is a big and very important city for the Iraqis, and the fact that ISIS has control of it right now is a big deal. In fact, it's pretty much everything ISIS has going for them right now. Mosul is one of the biggest cities that they control. In the end, this offensive is going to mean lots and lots of people with guns and bombs are all going to be converging on ISIS from all kinds of directions. For those of you who are not familiar with ISIS, they are an awful extremist radical Islam group, which is responsible for a number of public executions, including beheadings, drownings, burnings, people being run over by tanks. They've committed genocide. They're just a really bad bunch. They're definitely worse than groups we've seen in the past, such as Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, just to name a few. In fact, at different times, groups like Al-Qaeda have actually denounced them, although at other times they've voiced support, so that's a complicated topic for another time. At the end of the day, though, the fact that it looks like they're about to get their butts whooped is a good one. So here's hoping to a quick and easy defeat. Keeping on the topic of bad things happening in other countries, I know this is a rough week and I do apologize. Amnesty International has just released a report suggesting that over 200 people, including dozens of children, have died in Sudan due to the use of chemical weapons by the Sudanese government. Sudan is a country in North Africa, and the most recent event appears to have occurred in the city of Darfur. The government and rebels in the area have been engaged in a civil war for about 13 years. An 8-month investigation by Amnesty International has uncovered, and this is awful, evidence of scorched earth policies, mass rapes, killings, and bombs, in addition to the use of chemical weapons. These investigations suggest that the chemical weapons have been used at least 30 times by Sudanese forces. It's important to note at this point that chemical weapons are banned by a number of international treaties around the world. You are not supposed to use these on your enemies, your people, obviously your people. You're not supposed to use them at all. And it's a great way to get the UN really mad at you if you're a country. There's very good reason for this. The effects of chemical weapons are awful. The ones being used in Sudan right now are reported to cause difficulty breathing, vomiting blood, lesions, blisters. All of these things eventually lead to the skin actually falling off of its victims, eventually causing death. Those who do survive report being in pain for months. Unsurprisingly, the Sudanese government is denying all of these allegations. As we learn more, I'll be sure to keep you all updated. For our last piece of news today, well, I wish I could say it's good, but it's not. We're going to talk about climate change real quick. Now, I want to make one thing absolutely clear. Climate change is real. If you don't believe me, I just ask that you take a step back, pause this program, and do some research. Look it up. There are a bunch of great programs talking about it. You can look up fantastic ones by people like Bill Nye the Science Guy. But if you want to look up the papers, all of the peer-reviewed academic scholastic research suggests that climate change is real and that it is being caused largely due to people. Now, one of the biggest concerns with climate change is the potential for a chain reaction. The thing that contributes most to it is greenhouse gases. These gases help trap heat within the atmosphere of the Earth, slowly increasing global temperatures over time. As these temperatures increase, it starts to melt ice in the Arctic regions, and this ice releases more carbon dioxide, which is a greenhouse gas. This chain reaction can just kind of keep on going, and it can lead to some nasty effects. So before this year, scientists have said that the point we don't want to reach, the point where this chain reaction really starts to kick off and we're in some serious danger, is 400 parts per million of CO2, carbon dioxide, in the atmosphere. We are currently in the month of September, where carbon levels are usually at their lowest, and we are currently sitting at, wait for it, 401 parts per million. This is really high for this time of year, and scientists are concerned that there is no going back. So here's what this means for us. If things stay at the rate that they're at right now, global temperatures are expected to rise up to 7 degrees Celsius over the next 1,000 years. While that does not seem like a huge deal, 7 degrees Celsius is, kind of comfortable of a change in most circumstances. As far as the global climate is concerned, this is a huge deal. You can kind of say goodbye to the coasts. At this rate, by the year 2100, which for people like me is probably within our lifetimes, it's expected that 13 million people in the US alone will be displaced because the coasts are just gonna disappear. So, yeah, I'm sorry to leave it on that note, but that's all the news I've got for today. That last one's a big deal, and it should matter to you. If you want to voice your concerns, I recommend writing to Congress, or really any local or bigger government you can think of. There's still a lot of people in our government who think climate change is a hoax, and until we dispel that myth, things probably aren't going to change much. And trust me, at the rate things are going, we don't have that much longer to get better. Anywho, I'll be back next week, hopefully with some better news for you guys. It's not always doom and gloom, and for the most part, the world's a pretty great place, so despite rough weeks like this one, try to keep your chins up. It's not all bad. I'm Tony Pearson signing off for WHIP. I'll talk to you all again in a week with the biggest